How's it going, guys? I'm back with another One Piece video because I was blown away by the reaction to my video about why France loves anime and manga, and One Piece in particular. Honestly, I could have talked about this for hours, but I wanted to make that video more of a concise overview of why anime exploded in France and eventually led to a nationwide love of One Piece. One interesting thing that I didn't get into in that video is how Roronoa Zoro was actually inspired by a real-life French pirate with an insane backstory. In the Q&A from Volume 4 of the manga, Oda revealed that Zoro's last name comes from the Japanese pronunciation of François Lolonois, a fearsome Frenchman who terrorized the Caribbean during the 1600s. He was a major figure during what became known as the Golden Age of Pirates, and he was a legit badass, earning the nickname the Bane of Spain. The most impressive thing about Lolonois is that he arrived in the so-called New World as an indentured servant. He spent a decade working for a rich Frenchman on the island of Martinique before earning his freedom in 1660, when he was around 25 years old. Following his release from servitude, Lolonois took to island hopping around the Caribbean, but this was far from a gap year style backpacking trip. He was desperate to find a job in order to support his new life as a free man, and honest work was hard to come by. He decided that his best bet was to become a buccaneer. Like many pirates at the time, Lolonois and his newly assembled crew started going after Spanish galleons on their way back to Europe. These were slow-moving vessels that were usually filled with riches plundered from the New World, making them ideal targets. He quickly made a name for himself among the Spanish ranks, but this almost backfired big time when he ended up shipwrecked near Campeche in what is now southeast Mexico. When they learned about his predicament, the Spanish sent a party of soldiers to the spot where Lolonois and his men were stranded, with the goal of putting an end to him and the threat that he posed. His crew were butchered, but Lolonois managed to survive by covering himself in the blood and guts of his fallen comrades and hiding under their dead bodies. When the assassins left, Lolonois disguised himself as a Spaniard and released some local slaves. Together, this small group managed to escape using canoes, and Lolonois eventually made his way to the island of Tortuga. Now, if you've seen the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, then you'll know that Tortuga was basically the pirate capital at the time. It was populated mainly by French and British buccaneers, who formed a community that became a real thorn in the side of the Spanish. It was not only a great location from which to launch attacks on Spanish ships, it was the best place to trade and sell the goods that were plundered during these raids. Alongside the famous British pirate Henry Morgan, who also inspired a One Piece character, Lolonois became one of the most feared pirates operating out of Tortuga. His reputation was cemented after he and his men captured a full town and demanded a ransom from the Spanish. Instead, they sent a party of men to kill Lolonois, but this time, he was ready. The Spanish force was slaughtered by the pirates, though they left one man alive so that he could return to Havana with a message from Lolonois. He said, "I shall never henceforth give quarter to any Spaniard whatsoever." In 1666, Lolonois made good on his threat in brutal fashion. He managed to assemble an impressive fleet of 8 ships with over 400 men and sailed for Maracaibo in what is now northwestern Venezuela. The Spanish believed the city to be unbreachable because of its strategically advantageous position, but what they did not account for was an attack from the land. Lolonois and his savvy troops made land further along the coast, approaching the city from behind. It took them just a few hours to sack the place, but they quickly discovered that most of the residents had fled and taken their riches with them. Now, this is where things get nasty. Lolonois ordered his men to hunt down the residents, and when they eventually found them, they were mercilessly tortured until they revealed where they'd hidden their treasures. Some of Lolonois' torture techniques included setting the locals on fire, slicing off lumps of their flesh, and, perhaps the worst of the lot, tying rope around their heads and squeezing them until their eyes popped out. When he was satisfied that he'd drained the place dry, Lolonois sailed south across Lake Maracaibo to the town of San Antonio de Gibraltar, where another gory nightmare unfolded. A defensive force of around 500 men was slaughtered, and Lolonois once again demanded a ransom. This time, the Spanish paid up. When Lolonois arrived back in Tortuga with his haul of silks, silverware, gems, and around 260,000 pieces of gold, tales of his exploits quickly spread around the island. This is when he was given the nickname the Bane of Spain, and his reputation made assembling an even bigger force a simple task. The next time he set sail in search of plunder, he had an army of 700 pirates under his command. His new target was the Central American mainland, but this turned out to be a grave mistake. After attacking Porto Cavallo on the coast of Honduras, word of Lolonois' presence reached Spanish leaders in the region, and those in charge were determined to put an end to their greatest menace. The pillaging pirates were intercepted by a large Spanish force en route to San Pedro, and a fierce battle ensued. Lolonois only barely managed to escape with some of his men, taking a few Spanish soldiers hostage as they fled. According to the 17th century writer and historian Alexandre Olivier Excumelin, here's what happened next. Lolonois drew his cutlass and with it cut open the breast of one of those poor Spanish, and pulling out his heart with his sacrilegious hands, began to bite and gnaw it with his teeth like a ravenous wolf, saying to the rest, "I will serve you all alike if you show me not another way." After witnessing this, the horrified Spanish captives willingly showed Lolonois the way to San Pedro, but it seems as though his pride got the better of him. The pirate was outnumbered and easily defeated at San Pedro, leaving him with no choice but to retreat to his ship. However, by this point, Lady Luck had well and truly abandoned him. As he attempted to flee, Lolonois' ship ran aground on a shoal off the coast of Darien, a province of Panama. He didn't know it at the time, but his grisly fate was sealed at this moment. With no other choice, an exhausted Lolonois went inland in search of food. In a gruesome twist, he ended up becoming the food. The notorious pirate and what remained of his men were captured by a tribe of cannibals who ate every last one of them. To make matters worse, Lolonois was the last to be carved up, so he knew full well what was coming. According to Excumelin, it was a truly savage scene. He wrote, "They tore him in pieces alive, throwing his body limb by limb into the fire and his ashes into the air, to the intent no trace nor memory might remain of such an infamous, inhuman creature." It was a horrific way to die, but considering everything he did during his time as a pirate, you can't say that it wasn't deserved. Being eaten by cannibals only added to Lolonois' legend, which would be passed down across generations, and eventually inspire Oda to create his coolest character in Roronoa Zoro. According to Stéphane Ferron, who was the editorial director of the French version of the One Piece manga, the fact that Zoro is based on a historical French figure is just one more reason that One Piece resonates with readers in France. Ferron also revealed that it's a two-way relationship, with Oda being very much aware that One Piece is adored in France. Speaking with Actua BD, Ferron said, "Having had the opportunity to meet Oda in Japan, he told me how happy he was to see One Piece so appreciated in France, which suggests that his gaze is often turned towards France. I conveyed to him all the admiration of the French public for his work. I hope that one day we will have the opportunity for him to be with us." Of course, Oda likes to keep a very low profile and often covers his face for photos and interviews, so for all we know, he's already been to France on several occasions in non-official capacities. Even if he hasn't, it's cool to know that he's aware of just how much One Piece means to manga and anime fans in France, and that is maybe why there is a bit of a French undercurrent to parts of his story, and not only when it comes to Zoro. Oda has revealed in one of his question and answer sessions that if the Straw Hats came from real-world countries, then Sanji would be French, though you don't have to read the manga Q&As to figure this out. The fact that so many of Sanji's attacks are named after French culinary words is a big nod, not only to the character's real-world nationality, but to Oda's Francophile tendencies. Another not-so-subtle nod can be found in the name of the Queen of Frost Kingdom, Bande de Dessinée. Turn the U in Frost upside down and you've got France, and the name Bande de Dessinée is quite clearly inspired by the term bande dessinée, the French term for comic books originating in France and Belgium. I bet there are tons of other nods and references to France that have gone over my head as a Brit, so let me know if you can think of any. As always, thanks for watching everyone, I'll see you in the next one.